I am Sherry. I just need to put it out there right now. It is hot as Smurf right now, but we're just going to keep pushing on because I am so excited for the show today. For those of you who watched the show last month, we had Ken on the show. He's the bariatric chef on TikTok. His foods are absolutely amazing. So I am so excited that he's willing to even come back again. It might help that I incessantly bully him relentlessly, begging him to come back. That might have something to do with it, but we're not going to talk about that right now. But I'm excited. So we're just going to jump right into it. So Ken, I hope you're ready. We're about to get unzipped. We all have a story on how we got here, right? So for me, I used to be over 350 pounds until one day I made the single decision that I wanted change. Weight loss surgery has saved my life, and now I am here for you. I want to hear your story.
You know, the one that happened during that before and after picture?
It's time to unzip.
What's your story?
Hello.
Hi.
Why is it every time you start the show, you're always laughing at me?
I don't know what I'm assuming. So correct me if I'm wrong. Is your intro different from the last one when I was first on?
Yes, I added audio to it this time.
Okay. I don't know why it makes me laugh every time, but it does. I don't have a good reason for it.
You know what's so funny is after I did this first couple of shows, I was uploading them onto Spotify. Well, Spotify is strictly audio. Like there's no video or anything. So when I'm listening back, it's like 30 seconds of just music. And I'm like, people are going to tune out of this shit. They're not going to want to keep watching. So I was like, I need to put something on there that whether it's like a voiceover or something to let people know, hey, there's a reason this random music is just playing. And that's what you get.
Yeah, no, that's sorry, that just hit me the right way. I don't know. Hang on, I have to read something that Sherry had me write. Hang on. I am here of my own accord. Sherry does not cyberbully me or incessantly message me on Instagram to appear on her show. I love her show. Her show is great. The end.
You made it short.
Nice.
I absolutely love that, and everything he said is true. And
It's
there
true.
will not be a Cash App payment later.
Definitely not. I don't take a Cash App. It's Venmo, straight Venmo.
I don't even know how to use Cash App. People ask me if I have Cash App.
In what context?
Well, because I have a clothing line, so I've done shows before.
Oh, okay.
We accept like Venmo and PayPal or whatever. So then they'll ask about Cash App. I'm like, I'm not very technology savvy. It took me a long time to figure out Venmo.
Sure. It's like it's simple when you get to it, but you're like, but can't I just give you money? Like, can I just do the thing that I'm used to doing? Like, why does there have to be another step? Yeah.
I just miss the days of cash. Like, whatever happened to cash?
Yeah, cash is going away. You're gonna see it less and less and less. Thank you, Bob. So I'm sorry, I can see comments. So Bariatric Bobby was also curious what people you hit you up with the Cash App for, because I'm like, what are they paying you for?
No, but you know what? Like like you and I have talked in the past. I just feel like everything is just so easily accessible right now.
Yeah.
And I remember back. This is gonna be completely off topic, but I remember back in the day when people were desperate for money. Like they end up finding their way to Chatsworth, California, which was 5 minutes from my hometown, which was like the porn capital of the world, or you do like the phone sex. I feel like everyone now is like doing OnlyFans. Like that's going to be like their new go-to. Like, oh man, I can't pay the electric bill. I might have to go do an OnlyFans. Or something. It's so crazy, like how accessible everything is.
I am curious. Like what is like so that's like two big poles, right? So that's like job and OnlyFans. Like I feel like there's a couple of steps in between there. There's like unemployment, getting like a contractor job.
Yeah.
Although in a contractor job, from what I know, you can't make $24,000 in a week doing like, secretarial work.
True. And obviously there's so many more steps like having a regular 9 to 5 and doing OnlyFans. But I feel like, again, it's such a quick fix and there's so much more money like in a short I feel like people just don't want to work as much now. Like they just want, how much money can I make in the next hour? So if that means like taking video of feet or something.
Can you imagine making 24 grand in a week? Like,
would be amazing.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Maybe we've talked yourself into it. I don't know.
Ask viewers at home, because we have viewers right now. Do you think that we should have a bariatric OnlyFans? Do you think there's
What
a
would
market?
that even be?
I don't know what that would entail, but I feel like there's money to be made. So people, get your Cash Apps ready. I don't know what the plan's going to be, but we're going to figure something out.
Can we just do like Patreon instead? Like, why does it have to go to straight OnlyFans? Like, let's work our way up to it.
Can you make the same money on Patreon? I don't know enough. See, look, Bobby's already interested. Bobby's like, sign me up. See, Bobby's
well,
makes me ask a lot of questions about Bobby, but that's a whole nother subject.
Oh my God. I mean, I appreciate the honesty, Bob, because like I can't tell you how many times like I'll be on like you know, I'm a fairly connected individual, but like, sometimes I'll be on Instagram and I'll be like, they have a link tree. I'm like, I lift an eyebrow. I'm like, I bet you there's an OnlyFans in there. I'm like, no, just stop. Just close the app. It's not, no, just stop.
It's just so crazy. Well, first of all, happy Wednesday to you, Ken.
Happy Wednesday to you too, Sherry.
I hope your Wednesday is fantastic. I literally just told you this 5 minutes ago. For those of you watching at home, I know it's hard to believe, but I was a shy individual in school. I was not popular. I was bullied and picked on. And there was a girl in junior high that she was the other ugly duckling. And we both just kind of gravitated towards each other. And it's been like over 20 some odd years. And like by the time we got to high school, she ended up moving. But about a year ago, we found each other on like Instagram and we started talking. And it was like no time had ever passed. And we were just reminiscing about the geeky stuff that we used to be into, like back in the early 90s. And apparently some of my clothing styles is still the same from the 90s, but that's a whole other story. But she made a comment and she told me, she's like, Sherry, I've always remembered you because you were my first friend that I made, like true, genuine friend that I made in junior high. And you're always going to have a special place in my heart. And in looking in hindsight, like I'm so bummed that we never took pictures back then because we were so geeky and dorky and we were just more about being appreciative in the moment that you had a friend that you can connect to, that we didn't have all these memories. And she also moved to another state. Well, I heard that she was going to be coming into town. And she messaged me yesterday and said that she landed in LA, which is about 2.5 hours from me. And I'm so excited because I told her I am dropping everything. And I'm going to go see her today for the first time in like 20 some odd years. I don't know what it's going to be like, but I am just so smurfing excited. But the whole point of the story is it just really made me reminisce like what the last 20 years has been like. Like how you go from like this shy, timid, insecure. And Ken, I'm going to ask you in a second because I'm curious, like, what kind of a kid were you? Like, were you very active? Were you very social, or were you more like behind the scenes?
Oh God, I mean, so like hearing about like your friend, like I was like that friend too. Like I was the one that was like I was like starving for like a friend. Like whenever somebody new would come to town, like I'd be like, oh, maybe this would be a friend of mine. I don't know. I can't tell you what exactly it was. Like maybe I had like a weird sense of humor or like something, but like I just felt like the upside, like the bottom side of a magnet. I just repelled people, and it was very, very. It's hard to not take it personally, right? But like then I would eventually like I would get one or two friends, and those like friendships were like the closest ones and the ones that meant the most. But like you couldn't necessarily have like like a get together or a party or something like that with three friends. Like it just seems kind of underwhelming. So like when I would go to like those sort of things, I'd be like, all of these people, and they're like, no, not really. And I was like, how do you casually know somebody and yet have them over your house and invite? It's completely like a foreign concept to me. I am so weird when it comes to relationships and friendships, unfortunately. I just never grew out of it.
Yeah, I agree. I was so awkward. I'm
Yeah.
so awkward, especially like if I go to an event or a party or a gathering, I don't talk to anybody. I'm the creeper in the corner who's just like, watching people trying to gauge. However, if you approach me and you start a conversation, I can open up very quickly and be comfortable, and then we can crack jokes, but I will not initiate. And maybe it's like that deep rooted insecurity. I don't know what it is.
I totally relate to that. You're like, if you express interest, then we are good. We are going.
Yeah,
You know, we're good to go. But like, I couldn't go like, hey everybody, have you heard about Area 51, for example? Like,
yeah.
it's just not going to happen that way. It's just not.
Okay, side note, can we do a show one day just on Area 51? Because I have
Of
so many.
course,
There's
of
so
course,
much about.
as you should. It's a weird
I
place. It's a very weird place.
I am all about that stuff.
Of
Um,
course.
but yeah, it's just it's so. And you know what it is too is I've been made fun of over time. I feel like I used to make dad jokes at like 12 years old. I was just very cheesy, and that like when you see the people going, "Oh Jesus," like you just kind of like
Yeah.
whatever. Now I'm like, I own that shit. And one of the things I love to do to Eric, because it drives him crazy, is he's Mexican, he's fluent in Spanish. So I would look up like Mexican or Spanish puns. And my dialect is terrible, but I will literally go up to him randomly and just read off these Spanish puns, and he just goes, Sherry, Jesus Christ, like please stop, because it makes him so uncomfortable. But that's me at this point. It's like if I'm gonna be awkward, I'm gonna embrace it.
Give me an example of a Spanish pun, and then give me the translation, please, because I'm obviously not going to understand it.
Uh,
What's a
okay.
Spanish pun?
Spanish. It's like a Spanish, kind of like it's like a play on words. I don't know how to do it in Spanish. I'd have to look it up. But
Okay.
it's usually gonna be some kind of a play on words in some kind. But maybe I'll make a TikTok. I have a TikTok, it's one of my very, very first ones when I'm trying to discover who am I gonna be on TikTok. And it's one of those like voice changer ones. And I do like my Spanish pun. I don't think I have very many views on it. Everyone I had the same like reaction to it.
Like,
I
what is
thought it
this?
was freaking hilarious. Like, I don't know, like I love it.
But back to like you seeing your friend tonight, like even I have like friends that like, you know, also like they moved across the country, never saw them about, and then they've come back. And like I've wanted to like, you know, reach out or like, you know, connect, but I think I don't know, maybe it's like a fear of like rejection or that things wouldn't line up. But like I would be convincing myself that there's no way in hell they're gonna want to either one see me or have the time to see me. So I don't reach out. So like I'm like in awe that you're gonna go have this cool adventure tonight and potentially like reconnect with somebody.
I mean, there's slight anxiety involved. And I think it's
Sure.
because after all of these years, you've built up this facade of the other person. Like
Hmm.
you remember them a specific way and so there is a part of you that what happens if I say something and she's like, oh, she's not the same person, or like, oh, like I like there's still part of that. I'm hopeful that we're just gonna reminisce and just be so excited to be in the moment and just talk about the good old days. I don't know.
I would be very shocked if it didn't go in that direction. And then it's even a funny thing to like worry about. You're like, what if they're different? Of course they're going to be different. They're an adult now. Like, hopefully they're
Like,
different
I hope
in
that you're
some
not the
ways.
same 12-year-old that we were like back then.
I don't know. Maybe like, have you ever been around somebody where like they were like in a phase of your life, and then you immediately revert back to that kind of like phase, like that, almost like the same vernacular, the same like kind of like attitude. Like I definitely have friends like that.
Oh, 100%. There's people that I've had friends like over 20 years that back then their humor, like you could not stop laughing. But I felt like something shifted where you progressively upgrade and you improve your life, but then other people are kind of stuck in that old place.
Yeah.
And those same jokes, you're like, okay, that was funny 20 years ago, but it's
Yeah.
not.
It's like the Towny like curse, like people that just never left. But like what's better than going back home, especially if like it was like those years, I mean, for a lot of people, and I know it's not always the case, but like I don't know, maybe I look at it with like rose-colored glasses, but like I kind of yearn for those days, and it must be like it must be like a condition of getting older. You just like, God, I wish I had no responsibilities, and the biggest thing was, oh, I got to meet up with this person and have a good time the whole day.
Yeah. And it's kind of like sometimes when you hear like a certain song and it reminds you of a specific moment in time or a specific person.
Yeah.
And even if you're not friends with that person anymore, it just kind of like what that moment represented at the time, like the feelings that you felt. And I do think like there's some friends that I love that you can just not talk for years and just literally pick up right where you left off. And you don't feel like this need to have to constantly talk to them all the time. But then I do think that in life, sometimes people are just put into our story and it's only supposed to last a couple chapters, like because there's
Oh.
something you're supposed to have learned from them or gained from them or something. But there's some people that I've looked back at going, I kind of knew then this was not going to be a forever friend. Like, even though you were not paid to say anything earlier, like you're going to be a forever friend. Like I already know it.
I certainly hope so. Like that, I always worry. Not I. That's something I always worry about. Like I worry. You think about like the amount of effort you put in to like friendships and relationships and that
Yeah,
sort of thing, and then like when they fizzle out or they just sort of go by the wayside. Sometimes like I wonder. I'm like, is that was that my doing? Like, did I not put
yeah,
enough effort in? Did I come on too strong? And then it can kind of make you go nuts a little bit.
yeah.
I don't
I,
know.
try not to. I try not to think about it. But Bobby says that he wants to be y'all's friend.
What's up, Bob?
Oh my God. So I know that everybody is in different states, but we
Mhm.
should have one day, hopefully maybe next year, something like that, some kind of an event where we can all come together and just have like this night of, I, I want to say bariatric debauchery, but I don't know what that
Like protein shake fountains and
protein
and
going on a
and, and strange vitamins.
walk, like vitamins and
Yeah.
lettuce of some, I don't know. Like I just think that would be kind of fun because especially when you get to watch some of these videos, and I've had the pleasure of getting to start knowing some of you guys like on a more personal level and shooting the shit, and you build like these connections that there's only so much that you can do over a video chat or over a phone call. Like I'm a kinesthetic person. I want to be in the room and I want to feel the energy and just have like this amazing night of fun and
I would like that as well. I'm sorry, I would like to want that as well, but even thinking about it, I'm like, "Oh my god." I'm like, I hope there's like a corner for me where I can just be alone or be by myself.
I'll
It's
make
so
sure
bad.
randomly approach you so that you don't have to approach anybody. Like there'll be a whole like plan in place. Don't worry.
I'll cater the event, like, that's a thing. I'm great with that kind of stuff, like, if I have to go to something and I'm given a task, like, I will show up for sure because like, I don't feel out of place there, I have, like, a mission, but if I'm, like, there and be like, "Oh, just have fun," I'm like, "Oh, no, I don't know how to do that. I have no idea how to do that."
But what if this event is catered by bite sized?
Then I would have something to do, and then my focus would be, like, making sure everyone else is having a good time, which would then give me a sense of good time. So, yeah, that would be great.
Yeah, then you're
Yeah.
not dreading about social awkwardness. Like you have tasks at hand that you have like this thing that you have to put together, and you're going to be stressed. Oh my, yeah. Bobby says a full bite sized
Bite-sized
menu.
menu. Yeah, that would be cool. That would be cool. Oh, man,
See,
I'm
I'm a
sorry.
planner. I'm a planner. I might have to make this happen. I don't
That
know
would be
which
fun.
state we're going to do it in, but it's going to happen.
That'd be fun. Oh, man, I that's the only thing that's the only th so you think about, like, the videos you do or the content that you do, like, and I'm always trying to think, I'm like, "What else can I make?" Like, I can do, like, a million recipes and that sort of thing, and the one thing I keep going back to is I'm like, I would love to be able to serve this to people, and I don't, and I'm scratching my head. I'm like, I don't know how I would do that. Um, Especially like when I make something that I'm like super proud of, and I'm like, okay, and then take all my videos and I take all my shots of it, and then I'm like, and post it, and then it's just sitting on the table, and I was like, man, I wish people could give me like feedback on this stuff or just
Yeah,
enjoy this with me. So like that's like my like hopeful like someday like like how I could improve upon this, but that would definitely be cool to have an event like that.
that would be amazing.
Yeah.
Because I'm telling you, like, I watch some of these videos that you do, and I'm like, why can't I be in the kitchen right now? Like, I will be your professional taste tester.
That's
So,
really
so I
that's
have
really
a
kind.
question for you.
Sure.
So I know this is embarrassing. I'll admit it.
Sure.
I don't give a shit. Sometimes I make a video, and I've probably done it 20 times. I've made 20 drafts. I keep, because then like I'm literally like, hey guys, blah blah blah. Ah, shit, that was stupid. And then like, hey, and I do all of these different edits or whatever because you want it to be good. And then I get nervous, and like I told you, I'm a giant dork. How much time does it take for you to like really put together like one of your bite-sized videos?
So much time, like too much time. It's it's so much time that like when I cook like a regular meal, like nothing necessarily bite sized, and I'm not setting up like all the video and the video, the audio, the lighting, all that stuff. Like I'm like I'll be sitting down with like a meal, and I was like, I'm already done. Like it's weird. It's very, very weird. It takes hours sometimes. Like,
Really?
yeah, so like a lot of the things that I make, I was trying to get a workflow in place where I'm like where I'd make it the night before to like work the kinks out of it, because I can't tell you how many how many meals I've made where it's like this tastes good, but this looks like dog shit. So like I'm not there's this isn't going to help anybody. And then I'm like, I wish I had taken the time to practice, because I could have figured it. 'Cause, like when you have a problem, like with cooking, usually when you cook something and you sit with it and you think about it, like that's when your cogs start to go and you start to go into problem solving mode. So I can be working on one from anywhere from a day to 2 days. And
Yeah.
it's exhausting. It's absolutely exhausting, but it's so much fun when you get it right.
Oh, and some of they're so visually appealing. Like it
Mm,
literally will make your, I'll never forget when I first had the surgery and I was like starting to get more into cooking, because you have to cook like healthier options now. You can't just
yeah.
go to Taco Bell. Shout out to Bobby who likes Taco Bell too.
Oh, who
Um,
doesn't? Oh my
oh my
god.
nacho
Taco
cheese.
Bell rules.
Now I'm drooling. But I used to start making all these new Pinterest recipes, and then I would post them on Instagram, like my little foodie pictures.
Yeah.
And there was one time I made like some kind of a cauliflower fried rice that had shrimp in it. Like, I don't know, it was
Delicious.
so good. But however I presented the picture of it, I think it was somebody had said, like, that looks like it came out of the garbage disposal.
Yeah, that can
Like,
happen.
oh, it's kind of hard. But it was, and then the more I looked at it, I'm like, yeah, I can see how that was not visually appealing. Um, oh, Bobby loves the potato things you made.
Aw, thank you, and Baja Blast does rule. Yeah, if I'm going to Taco Bell, there's definitely a Baja Blast, and you have to. It's like going to Switzerland and not getting chocolate. It's just you have to get it.
I haven't had it in years, but my favorite was like they used to have a nacho cheese chalupa. Um, and I would get like just an extra side of not like I love the Taco Bell nacho cheese far above anything else I've ever had. If there's a way I could just go and buy that in the store and put it on, like try to find healthier reasons to use it, like I would eat that crap all the time.
So to fully come clean, because I talk a big game, I say I love Taco Bell, and I absolutely do. I haven't had any fast food in almost 2 years. Like that's one of the things I had to quit, because it just I've seen where that road leads me at least 3 times, so I've
Yeah.
had to, like, abstain from it, but god, no, like, if I had, like, one day where I knew, like, the neurons in my brain would be like, "Go back for more, go do it, who cares, just go fuck up," I would definitely be going for Taco Bell. That would be the one I would do it with for sure.
You know what's so funny? One of the questions I was going to ask, because I write down all these questions, and and then I crossed it off because I was like, maybe it's not appropriate for like a bariatric,
Sure.
themed show. But it was, if there was a like a fast food place or a food item that you could eat with zero consequences, no dumping, no calories, no weight, like what would that be for you? Like, what was your?
Yeah, no, it was, I mean, God, any it just it's all good. It's everything is so freaking good. Like beef, chicken, crunch wrap supreme. It's wrapped in cheese. It's wrapped in it's just it's all good.
Mhm.
But understandably, like that moment, unfortunately, it kind of has like an echo effect. It's like you have it once and you're like, okay, that was all right. I think I'm all right. I'm not go. And then you're driving back the next day. You're like, I did that yesterday. I'm like, it'll be fine today. And he's like, okay, after this week, we go back to it. And you're like,
Yeah,
yeah. And then
starting Monday.
starting Monday. And then you're looking around your car and you're like, it looks like I live in here and and I'm just living off of straight Taco Bell. And it becomes like a huge issue. So yeah.
You know what? One of my favorite things to do is because I love pasta. My family's we're Italian. We eat a lot of pasta. So I remember one of the things when I had the surgery is I had to find healthier variations, which is when I started like doing the zoodles or like
Oh
spaghetti
yeah.
squash. And even though it's not the same, pasta you don't necessarily taste as much. It's more as it's all the stuff that you put into it. It's the sauce and the ingredients and everything else.
Correct.
The
Yeah.
pasta itself is just a base. So when I started doing zoodles or spaghetti squash, or I would get gluten-free pasta, like I really enjoyed it. But it was about finding these variations of your favorite foods. So like psychologically, you're not giving it up. You can still enjoy it in a healthier fashion. What if there was a line of bite-sized, healthy fast food, like some of like the favorite like fast food, delights, and we could find a healthy variation of it in a bite-sized version.
That's an interesting idea. I tried something like that in the beginning. I made these Chick-fil-A pickle chips. Chick-fil-A is just politics aside, it's just God, I'm like salivating thinking about it. Apologies. But like I made these pickle chips with side of Chick-fil-A sauce, and it had like cracked peanuts, and they were crispy and they were sweet and they were salty and they were all these things. And all I wanted to do was go have a freaking sandwich from Chick-fil-A. So like for me, like no
It was like
bueno.
close.
It's too close. It's like cheating, but you're not cheating. It hits too close to home. But like that, it illustrates for me, like I have like an addict brain when it comes to that stuff.
Yeah.
Like it's actually I wanted to bring this up because I've been seeing it a lot lately. So like I have like a little bit of I have a Facebook group, and it's a good place to it's where people converse, because like TikTok, it's good for putting things out there, but like to talk and have a conversation with people, it's really not great for that. People keep asking me that are like at the very beginning of the stage, like they talk about food, they like recipes and that sort of thing, and I always ask them, I'm like, what are you eating now? Because like that's obviously like a major difference after you have the surgery. And when they talk to me about food, there's this like the same pattern. It's like, oh, I eat 3 squares a day. I have tuna with no mayo. They mention this very, very clean, meal and stuff like that. And I remember responding the same way. Like back in the day, I'm like, oh, I eat 3 times a day, and it's I have a sandwich, no chips, and an apple, and like probably half of that was true, was absolutely true. But I started thinking, I was like, what if it's not like a lie? What if it's like you're eating to cope, and you don't necessarily, it doesn't register in your head as such. Like I don't know if you like when you were overweight, like when you would eat, would it be just for hunger, or were you coping with something?
No, I was usually coping with something. Either I was bored,
Yeah,
I would eat when I was depressed. I would if we're
of
just gonna be
course.
if we're gonna be in the circle of trust, like there was a point in my life where I would like go to make cookies,
Okay.
and the cookies never went in the oven. Like I would,
They went in the sherry.
yeah, they just like the dough would just go into sherry, and it. I mean, thinking back, I'm like, that is freaking disgusting.
It's not
But
disgusting.
it was almost like I ate a lot out of depression, out of boredom, and it wasn't usually hungry. I don't remember ever really feeling hungry. It's just like I want to eat something.
That's the remarkable thing about food, is that like people just be like, well, I'm hungry, so it's time to eat. And
Mhm.
a lot of times, and I'm always astonished when it happens. Like when I have videos about that, and people are like, oh, I didn't realize that you could use food for that. They're like, it like kind of like, and I just thought it was like one of those things that everybody knew, but it's not. Apparently, it's not common knowledge to everybody.
Yeah, it's so interesting
It is.
because
It totally is. And I've had conversations with you about this too. Like, so like I've started like living on a budget, and
Mhm.
like the things I'm feeling about it like are almost identical to like when I started eating better. Like I feel grouchy, I feel sad, I feel like depressed. I'm like, if I was just doing what I was doing before, I would be happy. And even though you're working towards something that's hopefully healthier or better for you, but you still like go through it like kind of like a not like a tantruming child, but like I'm bitter about it. And then
Yeah.
like and then introspectively, I'm like, I hate that I'm like this. Like, I hate that I'm like feeling emotions about saving money. I hate that about myself now.
And it's so interesting because I mean, we all have different vices that we use to deal with stress. And then like for you, if you're doing better about budgeting, does it mean that you can't afford these things? No, it's just meaning that you're making the conscious choice. I'm not going to buy this right now because I have a bigger picture. But it's kind of like when you have the surgery and all of a sudden, yeah, technically you can eat that, drink that Baja Blast, but you're
Yeah,
choosing not to for the greater good. But
correct.
it's like your body's detoxing. And so the idea that your body's detoxing from food makes sense. The sugar, like the physiological reasons for it.
Totally
But the
makes sense.
idea that your headspace is like detoxing from spending or from another vice, it's fascinating.
We've talked about this before, but like, I feel sad. Like, I feel like I'm grieving, and it's such a weird thing to like. Why am I having like the same response as if like someone is gone or passed away or is no longer
Right.
around? It's bizarre to me.
It's you're grieving this, it's like something tangible, whether it's food or a cigarette or alcohol, which is why we had a guest on last week who was talking a lot about transfer
Transfer
addiction.
addiction.
I for so many years I'm like, oh, I've been lucky. I never turned to alcohol.
Same.
But there was a day, like just a couple weeks ago, I think you and I had even talked about it, where I was just feeling really down one day. I was having a bad day. I was depressed. And then I went out and like and you call it retail therapy.
Yeah.
I went out and spent money that I didn't need to spend, but it created like this chemical response of just making you feel instantly better. It was like this quick fix. But then for me, like the next day, like you have buyer's remorse. You're like, I really shouldn't have spent that money. And like that high I had yesterday is now gone today.
Yeah, it's utterly. It just feels like you have this ball, like this like itchy ball of nerves, and like you used to maintain it with like overeating, and some people do it with alcohol, and now I'm like, I just feel like I just took that ball, and now I was like, I'm gonna purchase crap off of Amazon I don't need, and just be
Mhm.
surrounded by junk I don't. It feels secure, it feels safe, it feels good in the moment, but like you take a step back from it, and you're like, why? Like, why does that make you feel good?
Yeah, I have one thing like this morning. I have been stressed about stuff lately, but I actually, when I was doing the challenge, when I did the phase one, you had to do this 10 minutes of meditation every day. And
Yeah.
I did it religiously every day because I was committed to this challenge. Since the challenge ended, it was like out of sight, out of mind. Like you kind of you go from 0 to 100 doing this challenge. It's over, and then you literally revert back to your old ways and then I was replacing those tasks every day with trips to the kitchen or the cupboard and like finding a snack. And this morning, I literally woke up and I'm like, I need to do something differently today because I had like some anxiety. I don't know what it was. And I literally just put on one of those videos, these 10-minute, and I did a meditation this morning and I instantly felt better.
Do you remember what you were feeling anxious about?
I honestly don't even know what it was. You and I have talked about this before, and some people who know me, I get like this weird anxiety thing if I feel like if something's about to happen, whether it's a negative phone call or a negative emotion, or if somebody I care about is going through something. I'm airy fairy, I'm weird. Like that's just who I am. So sometimes if I get anxiety, it freaks me out because now it's unknown what's
Correct.
causing it. Is there somebody hurting right now? Or because I had all these panic attacks in my past, is it going to turn into a panic attack? Is it going to turn into like, I don't know. So then that just the idea of the unlimited possibilities then just puts me into a tailspin. And I'm like, or maybe I drank too much coffee this morning. Or maybe I just, maybe I needed to eat something. There could be logical explanations for it.
It sounds complicated because, like, imagine if someone came up to you and you're like, today, someone that's close to you or important to you in some way, shape, or form is going to have a thing, and then walked away with it. And then you have that information, and then you're just sort of like waiting, being like, who is it? Will I
Yeah,
even get to know if it's like who it is or what it's about? And you're just sitting with it, waiting. Like that sounds awful to
it's
me.
terrible. One of the most recent times that it happened was back in November. We had
Hmm.
Eric and I had our nieces. We took them to the arcade. We had this amazing time. All of a sudden, I started feeling anxiety, and I was like, "Shit!" Because you don't know what it is. Does it involve the girls? Does it involve us? Is it my mom? Like, who is it? And then that just like puts you in this tailspin mentally. And I'm like giving myself a pep talk. I need to lock it up. So by then we were getting ready to go. Eric and I drove the girls home. We're literally 5 minutes from home and we get into a car accident.
Oh my God.
And then the minute the car accident happened and you're kind of like, you have like the initial adrenaline, but the I call it a pain in my boob. Like it just dissipates. It's almost like that's what it was. And like Emily said, it could be a premonition. I just feel like that's airy fairy because unless you've been there, you can think like this chick's a whack job.
Right. Right. I could see how someone, I mean, even when you told me about it, I was like, okay. I'm like,
It's kind of weird.
well, no, it wasn't that. It was like you're like, okay, logically, you could have a feeling or of like dread, and then you're looking to match it with something that just happens to happen. Like that was where my head went at first, and then you were telling me about a little bit more, and you're like, okay, that's a little odd, and then I kind of giggled because you said boob, and I'm a guy, and I chuckle at the word boob. So like, yeah, like like I've bought more into it than I did in the initial beginning.
I think it's kind of like one of those things where how many times does it happen when it's no longer a coincidence and you kind of have to. And I think over the last 20 years, it's happened enough times where now that I'll literally call Eric and he's like, what's going on? I'm like, there's a pain in my boob. And he goes, what's going on? Who have you talked to? Like, and like, he's starting to understand it because I started being more vocal about it. Because what would happen is if I had the feeling and then something happened and then after the fact, you're like, I should have known because I had a feeling earlier. And they're like, okay, Sherry, like, yeah, whatever. But so now that I'm trying to purposely be more vocal about it so that if it does come to fruition, at least it helps validate that I'm not crazy.
Right. Right.
I mean, obviously this is not bariatric related, but.
No, but we're talking about you and you're a bariatric person. So it's all gravy.
I like that. I hope you guys all think, oh, gravy.
I'm not a gravy person. I like things dry.
You know what? I really, you're really killing me because there's something that you don't like, and to this day, it really stings the depths of my soul.
Are we talking about bacon again?
Yes,
God,
it really stings my soul that you cannot do bacon right now.
Do keto for a year and a half and see how much you love bacon. Like
it's bacon and keto. See, when I did keto, was cheese. I ate a lot of cheese.
Yeah, sure. No, I mean you can. But like when I was first starting out, I was just like eggs, bacon, cheese. That was what I ate every day for a year and a half, and I did that because I lost weight. But then, like when you do something very, very repetitious like that, you start to get a little sick of those things. Like I make killer omelets. I won't make an omelet. I'm done with them. The smell of bacon, I could take it or leave it. If I never smelled another strip of bacon, I'd be happy. But like, I understand that's a very, it's a very controversial statement to be like, I'm not a fan of bacon. Yeah, no, I get that.
Fighting, but I do get it. Like I think
Bobby's not a fan of it either. Yeah.
I feel like this get together is not going to happen now because we just can't have bacon at this event. You guys aren't going to be about it.
There was also like that weird period on the internet, like remember like all the Chuck Norris stuff. Like I feel like bacon had a moment like that where you're like, okay, dude, Wendy's with the Baconator. Okay, it's fine. It's okay, but like I don't know. I'm not a Friends person, but like. I think of like that guy Joey on Friends. Like they gave him his own show. You're like, this is too much. Like I need this guy back in the background. It's too much.
There definitely was this huge bacon push for a couple of years, like on commercials and all the new things. But I'm sorry, you're not going to convince me otherwise. The Chuck Norris shit does not get old. 20 years later, I still love all the Chuck Norris facts.
I still chuckle from time to time if I was like a Chuck Norris joke. Still, like really, like okay.
I don't remember. I might have given you. I don't know if I don't know if it was Bobby's video. Somebody had posted something on Facebook or on TikTok on one of the lives, and they're like, "First person who can make me laugh" or whatever, blah blah blah. And I put like my go-to was a Chuck Norris joke. I don't know if you ever saw it, but quick side story: when I was in college, I had to do a speech class because I got a degree in humanities, and it was a 5-week course. It was like each class was 4.5 hours because there's only 5 classes.
Okay.
So our very first speech had to be on some kind of a special presentation, like a best man version speech, or you're giving. It had to be like a speech about, either a plot, like I said, like you would do a best man or some kind of a roast or whatever. My first thought was, what if I make it about Chuck Norris? So
Oh no.
I
Oh
wrote
no.
entire speech as if I was introducing like the host of the event or the guest of honor. And I did the entire thing. And people were like looking at me because I didn't announce who it was first. I said, this man, just he does not do push-ups, he pushes the ground down. And I just started
Oh, jeez
and I
Louise.
literally started it by just giving these Chuck Norris facts. And people were chuckling, but it wasn't until I announced it was Chuck Norris, and now the reality, like this was all a joke. I literally got off, like when I was done, somebody literally uttered that it was epic because it
My
was so
God.
outside the box. You can judge me all you want. The
My God.
people loved it. I'm just saying.
I love that that was it was I love that was a punchline for a long time. Betty White was a punchline for a little while. Like,
Betty.
I'm sure in the moment that was cool, but like from this perspective, I'm like, oh dear God, no.
The second thing next to bacon is if you tarnish Betty White or the Golden Girls. I'm just saying.
I have nothing wrong with there's nothing wrong with Betty White. It just when she appeared on that Snickers commercial and she had this like resurgence, you're like,
Oh yeah.
okay, put it away. Like it's fine. Like
It's like when something works, they want to overkill it after a while.
it was like Snickers commercial, SNL appearance, Hot in Cleveland. Like every commercial was like some sort of woman having an orgasm in a sort of shampoo commercial, and then it turned out it was Betty White. You're like, I'm done with this joke. Like it's old.
And I guess along that mentality, I get if you're having bacon for breakfast every day, you're gonna just be over it. I'm
Yeah.
hoping at some point you can have it once in a blue moon and not be repulsed by it. Apparently not. Like
I'll do like the occasional bacon bits, but I don't believe that that's true bacon. Like I
I don't
like that I don't I think that that's like fish food with bacon flavor on it. Oh, what? Why does that gross you out?
It's just a lot of like eating like fish food. I'm like, ugh.
Yeah, like the little for the fishies, and they go and they eat you at the top.
No, I'm not gonna get that image out of my head.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
Oh my god. So this is a completely off the wall question.
This is how our conversations go. But go
This is
ahead.
this is and like if you guys are watching this at home, if Ken and I talk outside of the show, this is literally how it goes. It is random shit all
Yeah.
the time. So last time you were on the show, we were talking about like just how in the last year, like you had no idea that you were going to be in this position that you are now. Like you don't know what's going to happen in the future. Or just looking back from like when you first had that surgery, and how do you think your life is going to go or where this journey is going to take you? Now that you've like built this presence on TikTok and you found this real passion in making these bite-sized meals, and now you've created a support group on Facebook, which we'll put the link on there for people if you guys want to join. It is a really good group. I love that it's not judgment.
It's
There's no
not.
food police. It's not like you're going to hell because you had bacon. Like,
Yeah, and I'm trying to keep it small so it stays that way. I can't tell you how many groups I've gotten on Facebook where I'm like, "This is great. This is," and then you connect with people, and then it just becomes, "Why are you asking this question? Why?" And it's just like, just stop. Just like they asked that question because they were looking for an answer, and they're not doing it to annoy you. So just leave it alone.
and it's hard because some people will ask, you feel like people are asking the same questions over and over again.
Sure.
What it is these people are going through, they're newbies. So they're going to ask the same questions. But then I feel like some people, when you've been a few years out, you just become snobby. Like you just know everything. And I hate that.
I hate that too. You feel like I mean, and I get it. You live that life. Like you do feel like you may have like a perspective that might be a little bit more informed than the average
Yeah.
Joe, but like there's a very fine line between being informative and being like a snob, as you said, like a snob about it. And
Mhm.
it does get to that point. And I worry about that too, because I was like, shit. I'm like, I know that just doesn't happen. Maybe it just happens with time. And I'm so I never want to be like that. Like I never want to be like, you don't drink with straws and you don't do this and soda's bad for you, and soda is bad for you. But like I'm not gonna give you a hard time about it, you know?
No, and it's like, some people are so anti straws, and I get it. And the people who are so anti, it's because you had problems with it. So yes,
Correct.
don't drink it. But then there are people who started with a straw right off the top, and like they didn't have an issue. So if I try to give somebody advice, I'd be like, look, everyone is different. For me personally, this particular thing did not work for me, but it might work for you. You're not going to know unless you try. I'm not saying to go out and, start trying all this crap, but some people can have self-control. Some of us cannot.
The only line I always draw with the straw thing, I go, did your program say no straws? And they go, yes. I'm like, well, then maybe you should listen to that for a little bit. It's not gonna poke a hole in your stomach. You're not
Right.
gonna leak out. Like, it's not gonna be the end of the world. But like, those guidelines are there for a reason, and just try them out for a little bit. See how it treats you. Like, right out the gate, people are like, it blows my mind. They're like, I can't have a straw. Like, it just seems trivial to me, and I don't know. It's a weird thing to get hung up about.
Yeah, and have you ever had an issue with straws?
I mean, I loved straws, but like that was like one of those things where I was like, look, I'm giving up in my head at the time. I'm like, I'm giving up pizza, burgers, and all this other stuff. Straws. I was like, if I can give up the other crap, straws
Yeah.
is whatever. No, it's a big nothing burger in my head.
Yeah, I don't really use them.
No.
Well, because when I don't drink, like usually I get a straw with a soda. I don't drink soda, so like I don't have
Right.
anything that comes with a straw. Also, we live in California where we get paper straws, and that is
Oh
just
no.
stupid. Like there is no in it. I don't
I
want.
had I had my very first paper straw the other day, and it was like sipping coffee through an envelope. I was like, who?
Yeah,
No, no, this is
I don't
wrong.
use paper bits in my water. Like this is just no thinking about it.
It's a terrible solution to a bad problem.
Yeah, so I don't drink from a straw. It's very, very rare, but I do get I'll get like a little pain or like a discomfort. Like I don't know if I'm swallowing too much air, or sometimes I get the hiccups. Off the wall, you know what gives me the hiccups really bad? I
What's
just had
that?
this conversation with somebody. A hard boiled egg.
Rice?
No,
Hard-boiled eggs?
every
Why?
time I eat a hard boiled egg, I get the hiccups really bad. I don't know what it is.
That's so weird. Like, it's an egg. It's just protein. Like,
Much. It's not even, I don't know what it is. Every single time I eat a hard boiled egg, I get the hiccups really bad.
I get that with watermelon, but that's not that hard to understand. Like, I can wrap my head around that.
I mean, it's
Yeah.
mostly water, but
Yeah, it's mostly water and pulpy, and and I tend to jam them down my gullet, so it's not that strange, but like egg, that's weird.
it's so weird. I don't know what it is. I'm an anomaly. I can own it.
That's that's yeah, but that's kind of like that's one of the frustrating things about it is like there's so many different, like, weird stories that are like
Yeah.
that. So, like, when you get a community on there and you're like, "I'm positive it's this way because this is when I live," like, you kinda have to take a breath and take a step back and understand that there are gonna be people that get fucking hiccups from having from a hard-boiled egg, and that doesn't make any sense, and that doesn't mean that's gonna be your experience.
But maybe there's somebody out there who has like the same experience. I don't know.
Maybe.
Question. What would you say was the hardest phase for you when you had the surgery?
Oh god, the heart hands, so we're talking, like, post-op or just the whole thing in general?
I would say post op. What was like the hardest part?
Everything was easy after the surgery, I'll be honest. Like,
Really?
the worst of it was when I regained the weight, but, like, that aside, like, the portion that sticks out of my head was the approval process because it took so long. And you almost like imagine like if you were in high school and like you all didn't just like go up a grade like together and you were just waiting for the principal to just pull you out and like, oh, you're graduating this year, and you get pushed out the door. And
Yeah.
then you find yourself with less and less friends, less and less connections. There's new people coming in that are going past you. I quit my program like 3 times because like I just was like, this is a big joke. They're just playing a big joke on me. I'm never gonna get this. They don't feel like I'm gonna survive or something. And I got very bitter and very sour about it for a very long time. And that was hands down the hardest part of it. I
And
mean,
was it more because of like insurance issues, or was it like the program itself?
I mean, there was a lot of things looking back on it. So, like, I'm going through divorce. I'm going through a very hard, depression. I'm moving. Like, there were so many red flags looking back
Yeah,
where they were like, we probably should take our time with evaluating him. And I get that now. But like when you're in the middle of it and you're just like, this is my new life and I want to move on and this is a major component to it and I've lost the weight and everyone's ahead of me. I it's not that hard to understand why they were like, we're I'm glad that they did now that I'm not dealing with it. But,
yeah,
yeah, I can't tell you how many times my mom would just like my mom has this great, like, thing with me, like, she gets as angry as I do about situations, like, she's like, "Oh, that's bullshit. I know, right?" And then, like, we go back and forth, and at some point, like, I will see her as a reflection of me, and I was like, oh, I need to calm down because this is
yeah.
ridiculous. Like this is I need to relax. And she's good like that. Um, but yeah, like I can't tell you how many times I'm like, forget this. It's just a big scam. I don't understand why we're doing like it's taking so long. And I would quit. And then I would have that awkward conversation like, I'm so sorry. I was just in a bad place. Could I please come back? And I just think that they would just immediately
Yeah,
just like, yeah, sure, and just start me over again.
yeah.
And then just yeah, it was
No, and
off.
there's no worse feeling than making the decision that you want something
Yeah.
and then not have and then like having to fight so hard for it to come to fruition. Like when I finally made the decision, I'm going to do this. I'm in the doctor's office. I'm signing the dotted line. And then they run my insurance and they're like, oh, the hospital's not covered. And I'm like, oh, well, then just
Oh,
get
dear God.
and then it took 3 months to find the doctor and the facility covered. But by then I was like, I already came to terms that I'm going to do this. And now I'm excited because now I'm thinking about all these possible things that can come out of it. And my life is going to be so much better. And then like the daily phone calls and then it's like, is this ever going to happen now? Like, I can totally relate how frustrating to the point where you're just like, you want to just slam the table and be like, F this, like,
Yeah, yeah, you're
and just,
like I'm like, "I'll show you how serious I am. I'm gonna throw a man-sized tantrum right now," and that's gonna be like, "You know what? That guy needs surgery right now." That's just not
yeah,
gonna it's just not gonna happen. It's not. Oh, man. I laugh now, but, like, I feel so bad for me back then because like, that which is a weird thing to say. Because like, that was, like, my whole that was, like when I was going through that crap, like, that was my project, like, was me, was, like, I'm gonna I'm gonna put myself into this. I'm gonna work out. I'm gonna eat right. I'm gonna lose a bunch of weight, and you're gonna see that like I'm good enough to do this. And that was just not a healthy way to go about it. It was too extreme, and
yeah.
I'm pretty sure they saw that.
Well, and I'm hoping that they do more of that because we've talked about it before. I feel like it became this factory for a while where they're
Yeah,
just putting all these people through the surgery, and then people are coming out the other side of it, and they're just flailing away like they don't have the support that they need. And then the more people having it, the more it's exposing mental health issues and all of these demons and the whole reason why people became obese to begin with. And when we had Marcy on the show last week, she joined support groups at her facility right afterwards. And then when she started dealing with transfer addiction and she had become an alcoholic, she would start talking about it in the support groups. And the leaders or the facilitators were shushing her because
they were shush her.
they would shush her. It was like they didn't want her talking about the possibility of transfer addiction because it would scare the other patients.
You're talking about a support group for weight loss people. You're not talking about AA. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, people who were going to be, it was a support group for the surgeons.
Oh, I have a story like that. Yeah, that is utterly that's awful. That's
It's
terrible
it's
because
terrible.
it's
People are
because it feels like you're like, hang on, you're gonna scare them away. Like that's messed up. That's
But like
awful.
maybe it should scare you to a point so that you're consciously aware that this is a potential and know what steps to take to avoid it happening to you, to learn from the mistakes of other people before you. But to flat out shush people, like it's just freaking ridiculous.
That's insane. That's one of the things I really do wish. Like, if I had to critique anything, we had like the occasional people that would come in that were post op, and they would talk about. Now that I look at it, like very sort of semi like superficial stuff. They're like clothes fit better, and you're like, that's great, that's important. I feel attractive and people are attracted to me, like that's also important. But there was nothing like under that, and I really wish that they had maybe spent a little bit more time talking about that.
Yeah, Bobby brings up a good point. He'd rather be scared beforehand so he can mentally prepare.
Yeah, and honestly, Bobby, apologies. If it scares you that much, you should have all the facts. Like you should have like all the things you'd be like to make that like informed decision, as opposed to just being like, okay, well, I know nothing, and then you go through and you're like, I wasn't prepared for this. Like
Yeah.
this is awful. Like why didn't anyone say this to me? When you had the nutrition on a few weeks ago, I was on your live and I was like, do you think that the mental piece doesn't get talked about enough because it would scare people away from it? And you asked her and she kind of chuckled. And I was like, it's because it's a huge component of it that doesn't get talked about a lot.
Yeah, and I noticed that almost every episode, I'm starting to bring it up more and more because we all deal with it differently. We all deal with our own headspace and our own issues as to why we became obese. But had I been told ahead of time that there's a chance that you can fall into depression, there's a
Yeah.
chance that you can turn to alcohol because you can't have food anymore, there's a chance. I remember they don't tell you that you can get very lightheaded at one point, where every time you stand up, you're about to keel over. The only thing they tell you is that, like you said, your clothes are going to fit better. You're going to have confidence. It's going to be like a whole new you. I mean, you might die, but like that's just one possible complication that you get. It's just like one extreme to the other. But how about talk about all the shit in between? Because I experienced a lot of them.
Yeah, for sure. And a lot of people do. And the fact that it's not brought up, then you're like, this is just me. Like this has nothing to do with the thing that I did because it
Yeah,
wasn't spoken about. This is just me because nothing ever works out for me. And I can't talk to anybody about it because no one feels very comfortable doing so. When you brought up the group thing, I remember, so 4 years ago, like when I was like, I'm going to take control of this again. I'm going to just start losing the weight again. Part of that process was I need to get back into support groups. I was like, I'm just going to start over from scratch, get into it, just fully immerse myself. I go to an in-person group because this is before COVID, and I'm in there and I'm thinking like, oh, people will actually be excited to hear like what I have to say because like I've never seen a person in here that's like, hey, I had it and I failed, or hey, I've had it and I gained all the weight back, and they think they'd want to hear from me. So I'm talking to them, and everyone assumed that I was pre-op, and it wasn't the case. And I'm telling them about this, and they just were like, "Well, how did it happen?" And I'm like going through like the things that I think had. It was like, but I thought this was like, but how do you do that? And then I was looking around the room, and I just remember people just like staring at the carpet, like they were just checked out. And I was like, do they? I was like, they don't want to hear this.
mm-mm.
And I was like, okay, so if I can't tell regular people and I can't tell surgery people about this, I'm like, who do I have left to talk to about this? Because like I'm trying to figure this out, and God knows I need support about it. And it just you feel isolated and you feel broken, and it was a terrible moment. Like and it was one of the first steps into getting my health back under control.
I hate people sometimes.
Yeah, it was awful.
It's like I hate that sometimes, like if the truth is too dark or it's too depressing, it's just so much easier to just tune out of it and ignore it
I
than
hear that.
acknowledge that, and yeah, I mean, there's dark shit in this world, but if we don't acknowledge that it exists, how are we going to know how to navigate out of it in the event it comes into our story somehow?
I think it makes the process a little less darker if you know beforehand that there are some dark spots into it,
Yes.
because then you're looking out for it. And then again, you don't feel so bad when you're like, that's weird. I'm hot now. And why do I still feel like this? Like, it doesn't make any sense. Like, ugh.
I just feel, and kind of like along with Bobby was insinuating, I feel like if before surgery, if you talk to people who went through some of this shit, the darker
Yeah.
shit,
Yeah.
I feel like it at least brings to light, or more importantly, it gives you hope that there's light on the other side of it if you started going down that path, or there's signs that you can recognize and how to fix before you go into it, instead of entering this phase of darkness completely unprepared, thinking you're the only one, and be like, no
Yeah.
one talks about it, so it has to just be me.
Yeah.
I'm this lone wolf. And it's like, no, I wish that people had like this opportunity to just be open about it.
There's that. And then there's also the idea that, like, you're gonna have like even after you solve stuff, you're still gonna have problems. That's a very normal condition, and it's not. It's like I always feel bad. I'm like if I fix something and then I find something else to then quote unquote complain about. Like it does. Like I feel like why are people listening to me at this point? Because I'm just
Yeah.
full of issues now. I get that hesitation not to say something, but eh, and TikTok is a great place for this. If you feel a way, or if you've had a thought or talk a certain way, I guarantee you there's literally tens of thousands of people that are experiencing the same exact thing as you in the same moment. And if you speak up, you will be different from the rest of them. And and if you connect with them, they'll be like, I feel the same way, and thank you for bringing that up. And that's what's so beautiful about the platform.
And that's what I do. I mean, obviously, there's going to be people who are combative and have opposing views, but
Sure.
there's a lot of supporting people on TikTok that I love. There's a lot of people that are encouraging others to embrace your body and all of its flaws, or embrace who you are despite having room for improvement. And they're putting themselves out there in these vulnerable places to give you hope. Like, look, here's like, I did videos where I'm shaking my little arm jigglies, and I'm like, it's embarrassing, but if it gives someone motivation to be like, hey, maybe I don't have it that bad, like I should be more confident in how I am, then that's what it's all about. Just
It
spreading
is.
love.
It is. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like sometimes TikTok gets a little bit old, where it's like, I lost this much, and I feel great, and you're like, okay, which that stuff's important too. But
Yeah.
like, I don't think it should always be just that. And I don't know. Sometimes like I feel like sometimes my algorithm shows me nothing but that, and I was like, I'm good with this. I'm okay with this.
Yeah, I have to be careful with TikTok because I get this weird stuff that shows up on my For You page of like conspiracy theories or like random crap. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I came across like one video, but Bobby was saying like transparency and vulnerability make me trust people more. And I think like when you're not putting on a facade and you're not putting on this mask and coming off as fake, when you're just being true, saying, hey, I had a hard day today. I was freaking depressed and I cheated on my goal, and it just shows that you're human. Like when you put yourself on this pedestal, like I'm immune to pain and everything about my journey is fantastic, and you're like, no, we know you're full of shit.
I think it goes against the idea of like like you try to be like a role model, and you
Mhm.
think about role models, you're like, I don't ever remember like any role models being like, I'm kind of down today. You don't, but you know that they had those days. They just,
Right.
they didn't talk about them or whatever, and they had to kind of suffer in silence through them, and it's kind of sad.
And that's sad. Like I would not want
Yeah,
anybody to suffer inside. Like be honest about it.
yeah.
Well, once again, I had like 15 questions. I think we got to two of them.
Yes, it's a new high record for
That's
us.
a new record. Um,
Yeah.
I don't remember if I asked you this last time. So if I did, then I'll find another question.
Okay.
But knowing your story, how you lost all this weight, you had regain, you lost it all again, you're doing things differently. If you were to have to do it all over again, is there anything that you would do differently?
If I had to redo it again, I mean, my go-to is I really do wish that I spent way more time beating myself up than I should have. Like I spent a lot of time doing it to the point where I was like, this is just your body. This is like the natural outcome of your body. It takes very super, I wouldn't say like supernatural, but like it takes a lot of effort for you to change. So like
Mhm.
maybe you're fighting something inside of yourself that shouldn't be fought. And I was and when I think about it and when I learned the definition, I'm like, I was gaslighting myself like heavy duty. Um, just because like you're in one place and it's not the place you want to be, like it doesn't mean that you can't get there. And yeah, it's super frustrating when you're not there when you want to be. I didn't think it was going to take me, 2.5, 3 years to get to a place where I was like, I feel good again and I feel comfortable. And if I stayed here, I'm like, this is a good place for me. But I really wish I wasn't just so down on myself, because if I if I had said the things I said to myself to somebody else, like that would make me an abusive person.
Mhm.
And just because and I feel now because I said them to myself, I'm like, that's still abuse. You can abuse yourself. Um So that's what I would definitely change to be different, because that did nothing for me. That did absolutely, that kept me exactly in the same space, in the same spot. It didn't help propel me to any place.
I think that's the best advice. And like I'm victim of it too. Like you're your own worst critic. And I am so overly harsh
Yeah.
in myself. I am not harsh to any, like if anybody tells me, I literally had somebody this morning talking about how she kind of fell off the wagon and she can't figure out what she's doing wrong. And I'm like, let's find a solution. And we're kind of like going through the process of elimination on what small things can you do right now to make a change for tomorrow. And when she's beating herself down, I'm like, knock that shit off. I said, at the end of the day, yeah, you had soda yesterday. You're freaking human. Why are you beating yourself down? It's different if you decide, well, I had this one, I might as well go have 30 and completely fall
Yeah.
off the wagon. Or you acknowledge, hey, I had one. Maybe what caused me to have that one? Was I stressed? Was something happening? Did something trigger it? And then just kind of, but for me, like the same rules don't apply. I'm on this own island of self-deprecating, like you are a piece of shit because you did something you weren't supposed to do or what. I was like, why? I would not treat anybody else like that. Why do I treat myself like that?
It is interesting for some reason with us. Like you can treat yourself as much of a piece of shit if you'd like, but you have to establish like some sort of code with yourself, because it can get out of control and it can get awful. But you're not going to speak up. Why would you? If you're like that with yourself, you are not an advocate for yourself, and you have to become an advocate for
Yeah.
yourself to get what you want.
And I do think the best thing to be the best version of yourself is you look at the people that you surround yourself with. If the people, like the five closest people to you, if they're negative Nancy's, if they're constantly bitching, if they're not taking ownership for their life, and it's gonna be very easy for you to fall into that pattern. But if you start surrounding yourself with people who are maybe better than you, more successful than you, have a better attitude, it's very easy for 4 or 5 people to pull one person up than to have 4 or 5 people bring you down to their level. So
Right.
if you find yourself constantly feeling stuck in life, or you keep doing the same shit over and over again and you're not getting different results, maybe start looking at your immediate surroundings, the people that you're talking to the most, the people that you're venting to. Are your friends the kind that are like, yeah, so and so is a jerk, F so and so, you could do so much better, you don't?
Yeah.
Or have a friend who's like, okay, before you get crazy, did you think about his point of view? Because the way that you told me that story made you come off kind of like an asshole.
Sure.
Maybe, and try to be more rational. And that's the kind of person that I try to be, which is off on another tangent. I think it's important for you to start reaching out to people who are like-minded, that are successful, that can help give you inspiration and hope and help pull you to be a good version or a better version of yourself.
Finding your tribe is a very, it's a great, it's necessary. It's easier to do than ever, and it's like it's one of the biggest, like it's the biggest source of rocket fuel you can possibly find, I think.
100%. So
Yeah.
I am glad that you are in my tribe.
Oh, same here. Yeah, definitely same here. It's nice. I've been doing this stuff now for a couple of years now, and I was like, this is like the first time in a little while. I'm like, I actually feel like a sort of like a tribe starting to form, and it's really nice. I'm a big fan of it.
See, I'm kind of excited to see like what the next month brings, what the next
Yeah.
6 months bring, when we have our bite-sized event next year that I'm going to start planning like right away.
I'm
I'm just
looking forward to like the I'm getting my belly skin cut off in a couple of months, so I'm actually
That's
like,
right.
yeah, so like that's like the next step. But then maybe the bite-sized event. Who knows?
All
We'll
right,
see.
we'll deal with that first, and then
Yeah,
we'll do a big reveal next year.
sounds good.
Okay, people think I'm crazy. I still think that I want to be like, I want to FaceTime while you're having the surgery because I want to see everything that's happening because I'm like so intrigued by
Oh,
it and I
oh
want it.
no,
I feel like
no.
that makes me weird, but
I don't want to see. I don't want to. I don't like people like they take pictures. I'm like, I don't want. I'm like, just take it, and I never want to see it again. I want to pretend like I wasn't even here. That I had a car accident, and now I just can't drive for 6 weeks. Like that's what I'm in such like a weird. Yeah, no. I was thinking about that yesterday, and I'm sorry. I know we have to end the show, but like how like the whole anesthesia thing. You're like, it's so weird how you go to some place, or like, and then you wake up, and then you're like, hours have gone by, and there's a lot of you're different physically, but like it's just as if you had fallen asleep. And I was like, that's weird. Think about that. It's like one of those weird things, like someday you're gonna close your eyes and not wake up again. That's a weird thing that people don't think about, but it happens to everybody.
I think about it.
Yeah,
it freaks me out.
It's scary.
So obviously, and when is that taking place?
November.
Okay, well, obviously you're going to be back on the show before November.
I hope so.
But,
I hope so.
No, it's already happening. But I would love to do a show after you've healed and recovered, because I want all the details, because it's something that I have on my possible vision board of doing down the road. So I want to know everything there is to know. And be prepared.
I can definitely hook you up with the deets for sure. And you'll get the good, the bad, and the ugly for sure. I want all of it. Yeah, I can tell you about it.
All of it. On that note, I'm really bummed. We went like 10 minutes over. I don't give a smart. That's what we do. But first and foremost, thank you again, of course, for being on the show today. I have to give Ken mad props today, because I had a guest scheduled for this week, and literally at the last minute, her schedule conflicted. And it happens, as she's a professional. So I'm going to have her on the show again eventually. But I happened to be chatting with Ken yesterday, and I'm like, I need a topic to talk about. And he goes, wait, you don't have anything for tomorrow? And I said, no. And then I was like, you want to come be on the show with me?
You're welcome. Like, it's not like I'm not doing you a favor. Like, it's just fun to shoot the shit with you. So I was like, yeah, I'm like, we can do that if you want. Like, and then you're like, do you have any ideas? I'm like, absolutely not. I'm like, no, I have no idea.
I made all these, look at all these questions I had.
Oh my God. Yeah, no. So I don't know if you've noticed this, but like when we talk, like, you don't have to have prepared things. We just talk, and it just sort of works out that way.
And that's, you have to remember that. Like, if it's me and you, we're not going to, I put questions just in case, but we didn't get to freaking anything. So, and that's just what happens.
I get it though. It's because it's your show. Like, if I invited you on something of mine, I would also have the illusion of being prepared. Like, I get it, but like, I think you can relax. Like, there's going to be a show there.
Yeah, and we're just gonna shoot the shit. And like, I have to give mad props to Ken. I know he doesn't want, props or whatever, but screw you, it's my show. So the last time Ken was on the show, I had like 130 followers on TikTok. I wasn't doing much on TikTok. Get all embarrassed, like, whatever. I'm gonna fluff you real quick.
Take my earpiece off.
And so after our show, Ken made a video on TikTok. And I woke up to a ton of new followers. And the whole joke when Ken was here last time is that I'm going to get to 1,000 followers, and then we're going to do live stuff. And then Bobby knows about it too, because I've told him about it. I want to do all this fun stuff. So Ken made a video for me on TikTok. I started getting followers like crazy. And then Ken was so sweet and this morning made another video. We're 14 people away from 1,000. Well, I haven't checked it since, but when we were getting onto the show, we were 14 people away from hitting 1,000 followers, which I am so excited about. So if you're watching this, spread the word. We need to get me to 1,000 followers so that we can do live shows. And then hopefully in some of these episodes, we can air them live or stream them live on TikTok. I'm really excited. So we're going to keep rallying the troops, but like, we're close to the end. Like, a month ago, if you told me that we were going to get to 1,000 followers, I'm like, it's taken me 2 years to get 125.
It's the hardest. As someone that's gone through it, that first 1,000, like, I remember when I hit 500, and I have like a video when I was like, this is crazy. Like, it doesn't get any bigger than this. And now, almost up to 50,000, like, it happens exponentially faster. But that first 1,000, like, they really make sure they're like, are you sure you want to do this? Are you sure you're going to like invest your time in it? Because we're not going to put your stuff out. Like, we're not going to give you, unless you're Kim Kardashian, we're not going to put your stuff out to the masses if you're going to put a couple of videos out and then check out, which is not going to happen.
Yeah, and when you did this show like a month ago, Bobby said I got a couple more followers.
You're down. Yeah, you have 12 more to go. Yeah.
Okay, so we're 12 away. It's very possible it can happen today. I don't know. If we do, I'm going to create a video, and I'm going to be like over the moon excited.
I mean, you're going to get there. They're not going to just stop. That would be fun. That'd be funny. Like, guys, stop following Sherry right now. We're at the.
I feel like, what happens if people just stop unfollowing just to prove a point? You're like,
Oh no, don't do that. Just everybody stop. Don't unfollow. Just
don't
stay.
unfollow. Just keep
Yeah.
following. Like, you're good.
It's funnier if we do it that way.
It's so funny. Well, I could literally make this show 2 hours, but it's no offense to you, but I'm going to go see a friend of 20 plus years
I'm
in a
excited
little
for
bit
you.
today, and I'm so excited. Quick side note, if anybody knows about makeup on ring lights, if you can start giving me some professional advice so I don't have a ring light showing on my forehead right here, because I don't know how to fix that. I know nothing about makeup. Putting my shit out there and being honest.
I know.
Any parting words for you today?
Absolutely none. It's always a pleasure.
Okay, I appreciate it. Well, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you have a fabulous week. We will see you next week, and keep kicking ass. And thank you.